Hi to all the viewers out there, I'm Sebastian for Gimp Artist and this is a video tutorial showing you my drawing workflow in Gimp. I will be drawing on the Acer R7, which is this device you see in front of me. It's a laptop tablet hybrid, which means it folds back, has a screen, keyboard and a trackpad, and then folds forward and becomes a touchscreen tablet with pen pressure sensitivity. And I've done a full review of this laptop, which you can see in a previous video. So to reveal my sources, we will be drawing this model here, which is a photo resource I found online. Very good resource and I highly recommend it, but just know that it is targeted at 3D artists primarily. 2D artists could also learn from it because it has very close skin texture detail, which you can use to be very realistic in your drawings if you want to get human skin texture. Otherwise, it's mainly for 3D artists who need to map the skin texture to a 3D model, but could be useful to both types of artists. Yeah, so the cover is slightly deceptive, making you believe that it comes with a set of poses, but it actually doesn't. It's mainly static and very close most of the time. Okay, so I've already drawn it on paper because for some reason my hand and brain prefer I work on paper instead of straight into computer. So I will be scanning this and let's get drawing. Okay, I've switched to a screen recording now because I do not think you need to see my hand all over the place. If you prefer such methods, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will do screen recordings. And now that the image is in, first thing to do is crop it down to the part that's necessary because I didn't specify the area to be scanned. So it scanned the whole page. Oh, and in my left hand, I have a portable keyboard in case you're wondering how the screen is folded down and yet somehow I am pressing buttons. Yeah, so this is for shortcut keys, but I will try to do some of the menu commands instead of using them because you won't know what I'm doing. But for the tools, you will see in the top corner which tool I'm switching to. I would have shown you the keystrokes that I'm using, but I customized them, so it's probably not going to mean anything to you. So let's undo what I just did there with the shortcut and go to the menu, go to image and crop to selection. Obviously draw a selection of what you want to crop it down to. And in the title bar, you can see that this image is 764 by 1201. Now, what I like to do is I like to resize it up because I want to have resolutions above what the typical screen output is going to be, which this is a 1080p screen, but you want to cater 4K or 8K when it makes its debut, or even whatever K comes in future, you'll be covered. So I'm going to do an insane resize to 6000 pixels. Go to image, scale image, and 6000 pixels on its longest side. And if you think I'm mad for going so high in resolution, just know that it's also good for cloaking issues in your drawing. Meaning, like, if you flood fill an area and you miss the spot where white dots show up because the flood fill couldn't get in that spot, if you downsize, that issue is not going to be visible. It'll disappear. Poof. Okay, if you set your RAM count low in the preferences, it's going to warn you you are exceeding your recommended amount, but that's okay, I got enough RAM. And of course, the resizing result is the image is blurrier than it was before because it wasn't scanned this high. Doesn't really matter, it's a reference image and all I need is the general sketch direction. To begin the drawing, you create a new layer. If you run the layers panel open, go to Windows, Dockable Dialogues, Layers. It's a tab. Or otherwise press tab. Sometimes that brings it back. So you can either press this little white page icon in the bottom corner, or you can press Ctrl-Shift-N. This is the shortcut, I didn't change that. That brings up the new layer dialog, and I'm going to name this Outline. My first layer goes above my basis. Gimp always adds a new layer above the current layer that you're on, so just click on the lower one and add a new layer. This one will have a white fill, and we'll call it blank. The purpose of this dud is to be sort of a blocker between the sketch and the layer that we're outlining to reduce its opacity, because you don't want to have it too strong while you're drawing. You just need to see it slightly so you can draw over it. And I see it's not working because my image is indexed as is indicated in the title bar. To correct this, you go to Image, Mode, and RGB. This will allow us to have transparency in the image, which you can't get with indexed. And then the brush I will choose is a good cartoon one, a solid hard brush. Looks like a big black dot. Perfect for outlining, which is what I'm going to do. And then under the dynamics, I'm going to use size. So the size varies when I press lighter or harder. So fun, right? Okay, now comes the longboarding part where I just go over my pencil lines with this hard brush. You'll see me going over the same line twice. This is to either thicken it up or straighten it out, or sometimes I will just undo it. If you see it disappearing, that is because instead of erasing it, it's easy to just draw it again. And I'm just going to show you a little bit in normal mode and then speed it up because you don't need to see every little thing I'm doing. Something that might help is if you draw a stroke and you notice it comes out a bit jagged, one thing you should try doing is draw the stroke quickly, as that fast motion of your hand will make the line come out straighter rather than doing it slowly and having it very shaky. Now would also be a good time to save if you haven't done so already. Play around with the lines, draw it thicker in some areas, draw it thinner depending on where you are. For example, in the hair, I tend to go a bit thinner because the strands are finer, but when it comes to the outline of the body, I tend to go a little thicker. Also adding a few random lines here and there and some thick black areas will create a nice style. Good effect. Note. If you really like your sketch lines, also you could drop the opacity of your outline layer a little bit so you can see better behind and see if you're following your sketch properly. Like in the case of the eye, I think I did it a little bit differently. Changing the face inevitably, so just need to adjust that. Mouth too. And keep outlining until everything is covered. Woohoo! Outline done. And onto color. We'll add a new layer, call it color, say okay. Oh, and the white background is still on, which we don't want, so add a new layer again and make it transparent. Okay, let me spell it the British way. My way. Better. So now we use the magic wand tool, or fuzzy select as Gimp calls it, and we will check the sample merged option, which basically merges the image to Gimp in terms of selection, so that if you were to select the arm, it would select that area while still being on the color layer and you're not affecting the outline. How cool is that? We can try the same with the chest. Ooh, I've got a hole that's running into the hair. You need to block that off first. Okay, fix that later. Let's go back to the arm. Now what we need to do is we need to grow the selection because it is right on the edge of the outline and you're going to get little white gaps. So we go to select, grow selection, and make it about 2 pixels bigger. So it goes underneath the outline and fills the area. It helps to have a thick outline at this point, so you can hide it underneath that outline. And now we will choose my skin tone color at the bottom. I have my colors here at the bottom. Don't know why I put it there, but it's there. And then using the bucket fill or flood fill or whatever you want to call it, click on the area that you have selected and watch it fill. Note how it misses the elbow because that area is separate from my selection, so I'll just have to draw freehand over that, and also holding shift to make sure that the flood fill overrides any multiple colors underneath, because you can't see it, but there's white and skin tone color under there. Or if you don't have shift available to you, you can also just press this fill hold selection instead of fill similar colors. We'll do the same thing as holding down shift, but shift makes it temporal, whereas this button will remember. So just take note of that. And repeat. Select your area, grow the selection by about 2 pixels. It will remember the last value, so there's no need to change anything. Holding shift while using the fuzzy select, you can select multiple areas at the same time and then flood fill it afterwards. You don't have to do it one at a time. And yeah, I got an open area, so it's coloring in the underwear as well as the body. So just need to zoom in there, switch to the brush and close that area off so that it fills correctly. Also make sure you're on the right layer, very important. In the case of the face, I will need to draw my own little outline here to block off areas so that the face and hair don't color at the same time. Need to do the same for the eye. And then simply repeat the process over and over until you got your whole color going. In small areas, you can just use a brush, color in that spot. It'll be faster than flood filling. Also good at times to hide the outline layer. You can see what areas have been missed by the flood fill. You can just use a freehand select and fill those areas. In some areas of your outline where it gets really complicated, for example the hair, you can always use the freehand select instead of the fuzzy select and go all over the outline until you connect it back to that original point and then flood fill. Unless of course you got big areas, then it's probably better to use the fuzzy select. When you got that down, it's on to the shading. We will add another layer for this one, call it shades. And the way I like to work is I like to flood fill with the midtones and then in the shades layer, draw the darker and lighter areas. Makes it balanced. And now we will use the select by color tool, which is a hand pointing to a green, red and blue section cube thing. Whatever. This tool allows us to select all common areas in one go. So for the skin, all of the areas involving the skin color will be selected at the same time. Also make sure sample merge is off. We do not need it on right now because the color has already been done. Once you've done that, you'll notice when using the brush tool that you cannot color outside of the lines. Restricted to the skin only, which is awesome and perfect for what we need right now. And now using a softer brush and a darker color tone, I will paint in the darker areas. Notice when changing the size of the brush that the top area is for quick size changes and the bottom area is to adjust it more finely. Very nifty feature. And then when all the dark areas are done, I switch over to a lighter color and start doing the lighter areas. Now this color isn't too far away from the skin, as I will add a new layer, and this one will be the highlights, which is the really bright spots. Skin shine, basically. Sometimes to make the highlights really evident, I like to use the hard brush and then afterwards smudge it in some areas. Gives the skin more texture. And let's pretend that there is a light behind our subject, so we will add another layer called glow. And here we will just add a light blue, which is the color of our backlight. And then I'll just go back and forth between these layers and color in areas that I see needs more detail. Something I like to do with the hair is create actual hair strands using this brush over here. It might look like it produces confetti dots, but it actually does long strokes, perfect for hair strands. So all you have to do is match the direction of the hair with this brush and watch the lines flow. And I think I'm going to move these strands to their own layer, just cut it out and add a new layer and paste it there. So this way I can color underneath the strands without affecting them. In areas where you have white gaps because the bucket tool missed, you could always just use the smudge tool and push in the neighboring colors over those white gaps. And then some additions to add to make the image even more realistic is to add some imperfections in the skin, some beauty spots, and freckles. And also add some hard shadows in certain areas to give more depth to the image. The higher the contrast, the better the image. To enhance the drawing even further, I'm going to change the outline color in certain areas to give it some more pop. Now, based on the previous way I've been doing things, you might expect me to use the fuzzy select and select the area of the outline and then change it. However, because there is an anti-aliasing happening on the edges, it's going to make a very sharp effect and it's going to look ugly. This will be a really good time to use Gimp's lock alpha button. What this basically does is, when active, it will ignore all transparent areas and only affect the areas which are opaque. So in this case, it will only affect the outline and ignore the transparent area. Problem solved. And it's not just the brush tool that will affect the outline. This works with the flood fill tool as well. If you say hold selection, it will change the color of the whole outline. But I'm just going to use the brush tool and color in lighter areas where I want it. And to give this image somewhat of a background, I'm just going to use the gradient tool and draw from one corner to the other, just to make it look a little more complete. As a finishing touch, I will add a few loose hairs to the end of the hair. This will make it more realistic. I will do this on a new layer because I want it to be above everything, even above the outline layer. And while I'm at it, might as well do some body hair as well. Very subtle, but visible. And when you are done with that, save and take a good look at your work. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, do something. Cheers.